Hey, what's up, guys? My name's John. Welcome to Daily Theology. I wanted to cover a couple things. One, a governor from Maryland had some crazy things to say, so we're going to check that out. And another thing is a title for Jesus, which he often claimed for himself 88 times in the New Testament, and he called himself the Son of Man. So what does that mean? Does that mean he's just human? Not by a long shot. So let's get into this video. Check this out.
Like saying, I have a constitutional right to drive drunk. I have a constitutional right to not wear a seatbelt, or to yell fire in a crowded movie theater, or to not follow the speed limit. We're talking about 250,000 people dying already. More than the Korean War, the Gulf War, and the Vietnam War added together. Which part don't you understand? You wear the mask. There's no constitutional right to walk around without a mask. We did it in 1918. I don't know why we can't do it now.
So there's no constitutional specifically stated thing that says you cannot be forced to wear a mask that inhibits your ability to breathe outside in public and other places. This is actually the type of insanity that people are accepting these days because they're saying, look, there's no constitutional guarantee that we can't make you wear a mask. But who argues that way? The Constitution outlines freedoms and things of that nature, but it's not a comprehensive list of yeses and nos. And so Matt Walsh put this on Twitter, and I wanted to just highlight what he said. Comparing walking around maskless to driving drunk is absolute madness. It is completely hysterical and irrational. And if this is the attitude, then we will be in masks forever. And I actually think we will be in masks forever, because what's going to happen that flips the narrative? The narrative is this, that if masks help even just a little bit, then everyone should do it. But my position, and it has always been this, is that there's much more damage done by forcing people to violate their conscience, to conform to a sort of pseudo-scientific ideology. And again, the science on the masks is not conclusive. It's not even convincing. So why the big push for masks as if they're somehow going to make people resistant to the virus? They don't. The masks that people are wearing are not surgical grade. They're not the N95s. They're not wearing them and being fitted properly, as we've continued to say over and over again. Does that mean that no one should wear a mask? No, it's a matter of conscience. If you want to wear a muscle shirt and it's a winter day out, I'm not going to tell you can't, even if I disagree. This is where personal liberty comes into play. If you are at risk or a higher risk group that is going to be severely affected by the virus, then don't go out around people. There are things that you have to take into consideration, and consider the fact that we live in a fallen world. The world is cursed, and there will always be another disease. There will always be another virus. This is why this is so important, because now they're legislating what you can do in your own home on Thanksgiving. They're going to try to go after Christmas, I'm sure, next. And so the train never ends. It never stops. And people have had enough of it, and they're seeing it for what it is in many cases, an overreach to grab power. I want to shift gears, though, because the one who is given actual power and actual dominion that will never end is Jesus Christ. And look what this says. I saw in the night visions, and behold, the clouds of heaven. There was one like a son of man, and he came to the Ancient of Days and was presented before him. And to him was given dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all peoples and nations and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion that shall never pass away, and his kingdom one that shall never be destroyed. Many people try to say Jesus he was just a person, or he was somehow an angel or some other created being. But look, it's an everlasting dominion. And this is one that is a heavenly being that is human, but also a heavenly being. So this is a messianic prophecy in Daniel 7, and it's the title that Jesus used for himself more than any other title. This is very important. In fact, when people say, well, hey, why was Jesus crucified? Most people don't know. It's actually because he was quoting Daniel 7. Check this out in Mark 16. But he kept silent. So he's fulfilling Isaiah 53, like a lamb before its shears is silent. He opened not his mouth. And again, the high priest was questioning him and saying to him, are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed One? And Jesus said, I am. And you shall see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of power and coming with the clouds of heaven, tearing his clothes. The high priest said, what further Do we need of witnesses? You have heard his blasphemy. How does it seem to you? And they all condemned him to be deserving of death. Mark 14:61 through 64. In Mark 2, he says, so that you know the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins, I say to you, take up your mat and walk. And they say, blasphemy, this man is blaspheming. Who but God can forgive sins? And so then he heals the guy and he takes up his mat and he walks. That's Mark 2. And so over and over, you see this. In Acts 7, as Stephen is getting hit with the rocks in the head, he says, I see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Father on high. And so you can go to these different places, and over, Jesus is active. In the Old Testament, as the pre-incarnate Son of God, the second person of the Trinity. In the New Testament, even after the ascension in Acts 1:8, he continues to interact with people, and you see him in Acts 7. You see him again on and on. He appears to Paul. He knocks him off the road or off the horse or to the ground, whatever the case may be. And then we see him in the book of Revelation, and over we see that Jesus is interacting throughout all of redemptive history, and that the title Son of Man is very significant. There are three ways to identify who someone is: their words, their actions, and their titles. Jesus claimed to be God. He said, before Abraham was, ego eimi, I am. John 8:58, John 10, John 5. You can check it out. Psalm 2 is quoting, kiss the Son lest you perish. And over, Jesus is claiming divinity. He's fully man. He's also fully God. That is called the hypostatic union. And the reason that's hard for people is we don't have anything like that to compare anyone to, but God added a human nature to his divine nature. He lived the perfect sinless life, went to the cross, and on the cross, he bore the wrath of God for the sins of the people of God. He physically died, and he rose on the third day. So you must repent and believe the gospel, because there is coming a day where the Son of Man will split the sky, and he will come back, and it will be too late for so many. Jesus said in Luke 12, you can discern the times, you know the weather. Well, look up, because Jesus is standing right in front of them, and they reject their Messiah. Over and over, he tells parables about how they rejected the Messiah, they rejected the prophets, and ultimately in the parable of the vineyard, they reject the Son himself, and they kill him to steal the kingdom, but death couldn't hold him, and he is risen. So please remember, if you're still watching this, to hammer that like button, like the 95 Theses. And if you haven't yet, take a moment and subscribe to the channel, because the deity of Christ, who is God and how is someone made right with God? These are the two fundamental questions that everyone goes after. Ultimately, the Bible tells us how someone is made right with God through faith in the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, by faith alone, by God's grace alone, for the glory of God alone.